Hello and welcome back to my channel. Today I will be recommending you books about lies, lying and liars. For Gothtober, one of the prompts is lies, liar or lying, and I wanted to make this prompt nice and vague because whilst lies and hidden truths and secrets is a really big part of Gothic fiction, I appreciate that not everyone is going to want to read Gothic fiction books. So when it comes to the recommendations I'm going to make today, some of them literally have lies, lying or liar in the title. Others, they have liars as the main character or a key theme or something that's really important. There is going to be a real mix. We've got non-fiction, we've got YA, we've got adult fiction, we've got fantasy, we've got it all. I've tried really hard to narrow it down to 10 and we've ended up with 11 so we'll work with that, and just hopefully there'll be something in this that you're intrigued by or that you want to read or whatever. My glasses are steaming up again. That was literally my main issue with the last video. I think I'm on the top floor and it's so warm up here. I think that's it. Hopefully my face won't melt. If we get this done nice and quick, shouldn't be a problem. So where do I begin? I think I'm going to start with the ones that are nice and obvious because they have lying in the title. A nice short easy YA read is We Were Liars by E. Lockhart. Hotkeys does this thing where it tells you on the back what is in a book, and this one is literally just liar liar liar. Okay, and essentially the story is about a young girl called Cadence who suffers a head injury and she starts to see the facade of her perfect family crack apart, and she starts to remember things she had forgotten and she loses memories of things, and essentially she's from a very wealthy family who appear to be perfect and it's all a lie. Things are horrible. It's written in a really kind of lyrical, almost literary kind of way, but it is YA. It is quite tropey, but if you need a short read because there are so many goddamn prompts for Gothtober, this would definitely be a recommendation. It's just a cute little YA. I know there's strong language, but I don't remember there being anything trigger warning worthy or anything that you've got to particularly worry about with this one. But if you're not into like the heavy gothic and you want something that's just a quick easy read, this is a great place to start because it has lies in the title and in all the key themes. Another one with lies in the title is The Lies of Loch Lamora. Now let's just get this one out of the way because we knew it was coming. Was this the reason I added lying as a prompt for Gothtober? Maybe. Maybe it was just an excuse for me to be like, ha, have you read this book yet? You should. You should. Essentially, Loch Lamora is a gentleman bastard. He is part of a thief group. They believe, it's very kind of Game of Thrones in the way they have all these different gods and goddesses that all relate to different things, and he believes in the stranger, and the stranger is the thief in the night who makes sure that the bad things happen to bad people and good things happen to good people. And it's his life living in this alternate Venice, just kind of causing havoc. It does have some really sad stuff at the end. It gets kind of brutal, but it is your classic epic fantasy, but with shenanigans and liars and thieves, and it's just, the banter in this is fantastic, and I had to have it in the list. Please, for the love of God, read this book. Feminists Don't Wear Pink and Other Lies. Now this is a collection of non-fiction essays curated by Scarlett Curtis, which look at how we view feminism and the lies we tell ourselves, internalised misogyny, but obviously it's not too dense a book, to be fair, and all the essays are a little bit different. They all have different focuses. So if you're looking for something non-fiction-y, this is the one that I found that had lies in the title, so it still counts. I don't really have anything else to add to that because I think I've pretty much covered it with it's a feminist book, a feminist collection of essays. Loads of different perspectives, so there'll be some in here that you agree with, some that you don't, but that's the whole point about feminism, is having the conversation. It is a lens through which to see things, and I really enjoyed reading this. I thought it was fascinating. I haven't read the whole thing. I've read half of the essays because there's only so much non-fiction I can take in at one time, but I found it fascinating. If you're looking for a non-fiction read, or you're intending to read more non-fiction, or if you want to just focus on a couple of essays, this is a great place to start. Ruth Ware's The Lying Game. Now I'm going to preface this by saying I haven't read this, but I have read Ruth Ware's writing before. I've read The Woman in Cabin 10, which I really enjoyed, and I know that recently she's brought out The Turn of the Key as well. Essentially, Ruth Ware is a fantastic mystery and thriller writer. Because I've not read this one, I am just going to read the synopsis on the back for you, just so you get a general gist. But again, I picked this up because it's in my my own TBR, so I will potentially be reading this one for my Gothtober. And I just wanted to kind of include another one that had lying in the title that I actually owned and therefore could show you, as opposed to just putting like a little image there, because I don't really enjoy doing that. I like having it in my hand so I can read it to you. But anyway, this is the synopsis. The text message arrives at the small hours of the morning. I need you. Isa drops everything, takes her baby daughter and heads straight to Salton. She spends the most significant days of her life at boarding school on the marshes there, days which still cast their shadow over her. Isa and her 3 best friends used to play the lying game, competing to convince people of outrageous stories. Now, after 17 years of hiding the truth, something terrible has been found on the beach. Their friend's darkest secret is about to come to light. But essentially this is a crime thriller, as with most of Ruth Ware's writing, and it has the lying game, which seems to be a key theme. Obviously you've got main characters that are clearly liars, either to each other or in the past, and if you're looking for something a little bit different, because most of the ones I'm going to recommend from here aren't thrillers. They're not. So this is kind of the only thriller / horror that I've got on this list. Now, having said that, any crime novel will work for the themes lies, liar, or lying, because unless specifically the characters admit that they did the crime right in the first page, they're lying the whole way through. So either the detective has to work it out, or they're kind of lying to the audience, whatever it is. I'm allowing that. They count as a main character. The antagonist counts as a main character, because without them the story wouldn't work. So it needs to be a main character or a key theme that someone's lying. Murder mysteries or crime novels of any kind count for that, but it just so happens that this one has lying in the title. So it's a win-win. Now, when I did the Gothic fiction retelling, I had 2 romances that were essentially your entry into Gothic fiction if you're not into the horror and spooky stuff. And in the same vein, I have one where the main character is a liar, but it's just a cheesy YA romance, and that is To All the Boys I Loved Before. This is the fake dating trope. This is about a young girl who writes 5 love letters during her life to the boys that she fancies when she falls desperately in love with them, but she knows it's just a crush. She knows nothing's ever going to happen. So she writes these letters and she lets it go, and she just lets it kind of fly off into the ether that she loves these people, and then she gets over it. Except the fact that she's still in love with her sister's boyfriend, who is also her best friend. Now, when her sister breaks up with this guy before she goes to university, he somehow manages to get hold of the letter that she wrote to him, and so do the other 4 guys, and she has to pretend that she's dating someone else so that he doesn't think that she's still in love with him. And it becomes this really convoluted plot, but it's fantastic. What I really loved about this is, if you're not a fan of romance but you like relationship or love stories that kind of delve deeper into the family, that's what I loved about this. Is her relationship with her sisters is absolutely fantastic. I've read the whole series now. I've read all 3. They're all fantastic. Lies aren't really a theme in the second 2, but in the first one they definitely are. But this is just a harmless romantic love story, and it's charming, and it's an author of colour, and it's just fantastic. I gave it 5 stars because I enjoyed it so much. This is the book that made me question whether I do actually hate romance or if I just hate certain tropes of romance, because I really enjoyed this. And if you need something where the main character is a liar but it's also harmless, so there's that one as well. Okay, we're going to do this one next. So, The Fingersmith by Sarah Waters is a sapphic historical fiction. Forgot the phrase then. This is a sapphic historical fiction where essentially a young girl is raised to be a thief. She is taught how to pick locks and lie to people. She's a fantastic con woman, and she is invited to take part in this massive con where she is going to basically live with this other girl for a few months and then convince the doctors that she's crazy so they can take all of her money. Horrible things happen. Like I said, she does end up having a sapphic relationship, but it's set in the Victorian era, so it does have very gothic-y themes, and also the aesthetic is very gothic because obviously it's in the right era for that. You've got grotty London as well as the country lifestyle and country manners and things like that. But it's actually, I really enjoyed this. But the main character is a liar, and there are so many lies and so many plot twists in this. It's really compelling, and if you're into historical fiction and you're looking again for a gothic fiction-esque book for this, then this would probably be my recommendation. This is the only one really out of these that is gothic fiction or has gothic themes. But yeah, so from the celebrated author of Tipping the Velvet and Affinity comes an extraordinarily ingenious tale of fraud, insanity and secrets. So that's a really good one. Now, could I do a lies prompt without the queen of lying herself, Holly Black's The Cruel Prince? Now, in this world of fae, fairies can't lie. It's physically impossible for them for some reason, and therefore the main character really makes the most out of the fact that she, being human, can lie. So when Jude is about 7 years old, she watches her parents get brutally murdered and she is kidnapped by a fairy general who raises her to be basically like him, and they're all very, very horrible people, but it's great. I love this. I have literally just finished reading the selection and everyone is so nice to each other and everyone just gets along and there's no political intrigue in it whatsoever, and it was so... I wanted more of this. This is nothing like that, and I didn't like that. So if you secretly also didn't like that, but you like yourself some political intrigue and battles and nighttime horse rides and sexy fae boys who are broody and mean and cruel, I'm probably letting you know more about me than I should. But it's really good, and the main character's a liar, so that works. A slightly more depressing story, because, you know, maybe you're like feeling sad. I don't know your life. The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini is a Middle Eastern contemporary novel about a young boy who grows up with this kid Hassan, who he knows is his dad's illegitimate child, and something horrible happens to Hassan. Amir finally realises that actually this is his perfect excuse to get rid of Hassan, and he kind of just ruins Hassan's life. And he does it with a lie, and it's a really brutal lie, and then he spends the rest of his life trying to atone for that lie. But it's set in Afghanistan, it's set during the Middle Eastern conflict, so it has the main characters trying to survive the Taliban and moving to America. It is a really brutal story. So trigger warnings for sexual assault and violence and child trafficking, like it's brutal, but this lie destroys lives. And this guy has then got to go back and fix everything. But it's a beautifully written book. It's an incredibly powerful book, and it is nothing like anything I've suggested so far. And thankfully, it's nothing like I'm going to be suggesting. The others are harmless in comparison. Kind of harmless in comparison, because I've just realised that I'm about to recommend you DNA. I studied these at school. That's why they've got the stickers on. Anyway, DNA, very similar to The Lying Game, is about a group of kids who accidentally kill their best friend and then lie about it and cover it up. It's 40 pages long, it's a play, so it's a very, very easy read, but again, the key theme is lying, and the main characters are all liars because they just cover up this horrible murder, and things do not go to plan. So it's dark. I mentioned this when I did my Speedopoly and I had loads of books that I read in a day. I mentioned this then, and a couple of people have read it since then and hated it because it just doesn't, it takes so much to kind of comprehend why they would do these actions and why they would allow this lie to continue, and that's probably how you'll feel about The Kite Runner as well. But there's two books that I studied at school and or taught that I feel like they suit the prompt and you'd probably really enjoy them, and this is obviously like the quickest read. So if you're like, actually Hannah, there are too many prompts, I'm already having to double up, I'm really worried about this, 40 pages. And you're done. Okay, and then the next two, I kind of can talk about them together. They are not so much straight lies as they are, the main character is keeping a secret, and anytime they get called on it, they lie about it. So they are both living a false life. So with The Bees, this is a dystopic contemporary novel. Yeah, this is a dystopic contemporary novel written by Lillian Paul, who is an author of colour. And essentially it's about a bee who is, for some reason, mutates in a way that no one's expecting, and she kind of moves around the colony and fulfills different paths, but she does the one thing that no other bee except the queen bee is allowed to do, and her world kind of tumbles out of control. So she's having to continually lie and keep these secrets to survive. So it's a really, really fantastic book, and if you like contemporary and you like dystopic, this is a fantastic read. I loved this, and I read it years ago and I'm so tempted to reread it because it's just epic. And the other one is The Empress of All Seasons. Again, we've got another author of colour. This is about a young girl who is half demon, half human, and she wants to become the Empress of All Seasons, which is essentially women across the world are invited to kind of go through these different trials every goddamn time, women are invited to the castle to go through all these different trials, and essentially they're fighting for the king's hand. But again, demons are not allowed, demons are treated as slaves, so she knows that if she becomes empress, she'll actually have a lot more power and she'll be able to free them, but she has to keep that secret and she has to keep that lie. So there's a lot of... I don't know what it is about Sunday. Why is Sunday always the day that every motorbike comes out? Anyway, so she also has to keep that a secret and keep that under wraps. So they are both kind of stories where they are liars. They're not necessarily intentional liars. They're not they're not particularly dark lies, but they are liars, so they have to deal with that. So there you go. There's my 11 books. I hope there's something in there that tickles your fancy. Don't panic if not, because like I said, crime dramas, anything like that, anything that's got lying in the title or a liar as a main character, it is a relatively easy prompt because there are so many titles that have liar in them now. But I hope there's something in this that you're intrigued by, because it's really great doing a recommendation video and then seeing my recommendations in your TBRs is just, it gives me the warm and fuzzies. So I hope you're having a lovely weekend and I hope you have a nice day.